Hello, happy Halloween. I think this video is actually posting on Halloween, which is very exciting. If I'm not wrong, I think this is going to be a short little video. I didn't really have any specific spooky books aside from this one singular book that I wanted to read for Halloween. And so, yeah. The spooky part of this video is how frighteningly short this video might be. But I'm sure you're wondering, you did witches, you did ghosts. What is this here? It's a sentient house. Thought I was going to do horror, but I've kind of not gone out of my horror phase, but just haven't really been in the mood for horror. So yeah, I was like, what am I in the mood for? And I was like, a house that's alive. So that's what we're reading. We are reading The Starling House by Alex E. Hallow. This will be my first full-length novel by her. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be really great. I hope it's going to be really great. I've been putting off this book because I'm intimidated by it. But yeah, I just heard it's very spooky and creepy, gothic-ish. And so I'm excited, but we will see, I guess.
So I'm on page AC, which is in chapter 10, and I have to honestly say so far it has started very slowly. I'm a bit bored. Just it feels like nothing's really happened yet, and we're nearly 100 pages in, and this really isn't that long of a novel. It's only about that many pages, and so for nothing to have happened yet is a bit startling. And then also in general, I've only ever read her novellas, and usually they are very fast paced. The action happens very quickly and we're just thrown into it. Whereas this one, it's very slow and it feels, as you could probably tell, like it's mostly just info dumping and storytelling, but no plot is actually happening, which I don't think I'm a fan of. It also just kind of reminds me of Your Blood, My Bones, which if you watch my other videos, you know I'm not a fan of that one at all, which is such a shame because it sounded like a really fun summer gothic read, and this one feels like the winter version of that book, and I just don't think I'm really liking it that much so far. I want to give it a fair shot because I know I enjoy her work, but things need to happen for me to like it. So I just got to chapter 17, which is on page 153, and to be honest with you, I'm almost exclusively listening to the audiobook at this point. I maybe read physically 1 or 2 chapters. Out of this much, I've been quite bored so far. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit disappointed. It feels like the action took forever to start, and maybe she was going for suspense, but it doesn't really feel that suspenseful. And so in general, I'm just not having the fun, spooky time that I thought I would be, and I'm quite disappointed. And also, just side note, every time I look at her, it's just like, why are you so cute? Anyway, yeah, I'm a bit disappointed, unfortunately, and I'm only halfway and I want it to be over, so that sucks.
So guess who filmed her intro late again? I know, it's been hectic writing wise. My new book has taken up a lot of my time. I've just been struggling to find time to film, so I'm sorry. I will be better, I promise. But yeah, I actually have finished this novel. It was a 3-star, which is a lot lower than I thought I would give it, and it was a bit of a shame. So let me just first start off by saying that this book was interesting. I will give it that. This book was very interesting. It was just not the type of interesting that I thought it would be, which is not necessarily a good thing. First and foremost, this book, oddly enough, reminded me quite a bit of Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Andrews, which I DNF'd twice at the same point. It just was not my type of novel. And so that reminiscentness of it was not good for it. Then my issues were, first and foremost, the book started off very slowly, and because I've only read prior to this Alexi Harrow's short stories, that didn't work out well because I'm used to her fast-paced writing. Like, that's why I loved Fractured Fables. You just go straight into the plot, and it was really fun and interesting. Whereas with this one, it takes a hot second to actually get to the house and cleaning of the house, because she works as a house cleaner, housekeeper for the owner of the Starling house. And the fact that it was really slow did not help the fact that I had just barely gotten out of a reading slump. It kind of like dipped back down into it, which obviously wasn't great. Like I said, the plot went into a direction that I completely was not expecting or wanting, to be perfectly honest. And it kind of made me just check out of the novel a little bit, which is very unfortunate. And essentially, a lot of it turned into kind of like a spy novel where she was trying to gather intel on the house and on the owner of the house. And then the very ending was where it turned into the actual fantasy portion of how the house is alive, why the owner of the house is such a recluse, and all of that. And I thought the entirety of the book would be like the last 10-20% of the novel, even though it's in the real world, very fantasy, magical creatures, weird doors, things like that. But instead it more so felt like a weirdly political book that just happened to have like a fantasy house in it. It was odd, and so I didn't really like that because it went in a direction that I wasn't expecting or wanting, as I said. And the ending was interesting. I think that's the worst part. I think if it went into the direction that I wanted, I would have enjoyed it way more. But it didn't, and I don't want to blame the book necessarily for that. However, just, I don't know, sometimes it's tiring because it's like I'm picking up a fantasy book to read about magic and ghouls and witches and vampires and fae and elves, and to just escape reality. And this book did not make me feel like I escaped reality. If anything, it kind of felt like I was just stuck even more, which wasn't fun, to be perfectly honest with you. And so it was a shame, shall we say. But it was a 3-star. I don't think it was a bad book by any means, but it's also just kind of, I can see why the star rating, like the average star rating on Goodreads, was much lower than I had guessed. If you don't know what video I'm talking about, it will be linked down below, but I can kind of understand it because I'm sure a lot of people might have gone in with the expectations that I did and was just kind of shocked and taken aback. Would I recommend this book? Not no, but also not yes. If someone specifically asked me, hey, do you think I should read this book? I think I would ask a couple follow-up questions of like, what is your taste? What do you like? Do you like political drama? Yada, yada, yada. And then my answer would depend on what they tell me. But if you just ask me to recommend a fantasy novel for awesome/Halloween time, this would not be in my selection of choices, shall we say. So yeah, didn't hate it, didn't love it. Wasn't even really disappointed, more so just confused and taken aback. So yeah, if you read this book, I would love to know your opinions on it. Were you also taken aback by the direction the plot went, or am I just dumb? If you like me or my videos, I would really appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.